Page 27, Legend of Madrid. Interesting things. This 6/8 time, 1 flat, we're in the key of D minor. Has some things going on in here over on pages 28 and 29. Well, let's go through it carefully. Starting out, right hand first. Let's get the notes and the rhythms. Here, and the dotted half note it gets 6 counts because it's the same as 3/4 notes, which is 6/8 notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, because it's tied to one of the next. So the second measure is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So forth. That's the rhythm, really. Let's go down to the third line. Bring the thumb down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then third finger. Because you got to come down here, and again, third finger. C sharp on that one, and that's tied, and it's still a C sharp. You see, if you have a note that's tied to another measure and it has an accidental, it keeps that. That's the exception to the accidental rule. It stays a C sharp even in the next measure. But then they need a sharp sign in front of the first 8th note C they give you, or it would be a C natural because you're in a different measure. So it's C. So again, the last 2 measures of the third line, or measure 11 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Thumb comes under. Thumb under again. And now, last line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is just D minor scale. 2, 3, and then a D chord going up. Extended position is that, and we're just doing it. You don't have to stay stretched out. You can collapse as you go up, but that's the idea with that fingering. On page 28, a little grace note. I'll come back to that. Leave that out right now. We just want the notes. We have a C sharp, or an A and a C sharp, and then a B flat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this cadenza thing. Just take it slow here. We'll play these as 8th notes. Get the fingering and the notes. 1, 2. See, these are the notes in the D minor harmonic scale. If you can do the D minor scale, you'll recognize this. Oh, I can do this. Well, it's 1, 2. And there is no real counting here. You'll notice, I mean, in 4/4 time, we got way too many notes in there for 4 counts. Well, that's one of the things with a cadenza. There's no real counting to it. I mean, you try and keep the pulse more or less, although a lot of people don't, but it helps the listener if you do. You just don't worry about counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just like a 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and type. You just keep the rhythm going in 8th notes. 1 and 1 and 1 and 2. Just keep them even. But all those accidentals are good for that whole thing, because all of that, believe it or not, is a measure. Still a measure. It's just got way too many notes in it. That's what cadenzas do. Next line, same as the first. Here, leave out the grace note, and then we have triplets. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then another cadenza. Actually, all of this is cadenza. But then you lift up and come up, and you're doing what you did before, an octave higher. Just keep them even. And then the last 4 8th notes, they're big notes suddenly. You see, as I said before, in a cadenza, the rhythm kind of goes away. I mean, you can speed this up and go. Speed up and slow down, so whatever I want to do. So it's, but those last 4 8th notes need to be in rhythm. That's why they're big notes. So 1 and 2 and. So it's a. And then I'm back to the tempo I was doing. That's an idea with cadenzas. They're just short flourishing thing, whatever it is, where the soloist can show off a little bit. Look how fancy I can go. Well, Play it accurately though. And that's all that cadenza is doing. Third line, we're back to what we were doing at the beginning on page 27. Let's jump over to page 29. It's the last measure of the second line, or measure 36. Again, leave out the grace note. The chord is that little thing is a grace note. Just play it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Be natural and keep going. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. C F sharp on that one. And then the last line, it's the chord again, but it's got an 8 VA over it, so that you go up an octave. If you have a short keyboard and you don't have the notes, don't worry about it. Play them where you've got them. And then the last two measures, forget the broadened right now, just play it down here. It's got a fermata over it. And then a 1, 2, 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Without the fermata, that's how it would be. Remember, we're counting eighth notes here. And that's the right hand. Try and get it worked out where the notes and fingerings are sort of comfortable with you. The left hand just has a bunch of broken chords, pretty much. D minor at the beginning. Gives you something to do while you're holding that note in the right hand down. That's pretty much it. Let's go down to the third line there. You gotta rest right before it. Just come down one note. No. And the next measure. The next measure. You're going down. And then the last measure, you back up here. Well, the last measure that you play on that page, page 28. Now we're in 4/4 time. The time signature did change. It's 1. That's fourth finger here. The thumb's playing both, but this is. And then that's tied. You just hold it down while you go crazy in the right hand. Next line, same thing. And hold it down until you get to those last 4 eighth notes. And somewhere in this measure, you can let up. I'm guessing you can let up about the time you get the right hand of those last 8 notes. When you get to there, let the left hand up. See, I'll come back to that when I get the hands together. So you got to rest. You can come up here. Then we're back to counting eighth notes again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the speed of the 4 eighth notes at the end of the second line need to be, well, in theory, they need to be the same speed as the eighth notes you're going into. You're leading into them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That type of thing. I'll talk more about that in a little bit later, but right there is good enough. Let's go over to page 29. You've had all this before. Go down to the third line here. And you hold that down and then go down here. Prepare left hand simply means move. You just lift up and move. I do fourth finger on that. They're saying third, and there's a difference of opinion on how these chords are fingered. Some people will do this. They 1-3 on that. I don't. I do 1-4. It's what I had to do in college. That's what I do. It's good practice to learn to separate the fourth and fifth fingers. So if your hand's big enough, I recommend fourth finger on the F sharp. You don't have to stay stretched out. You can roll up. And I do that. And then the last measure, it has an 8 V8 under it, so you go down here if you have the note. If you don't, stay where you're at. The beginning is just 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Remember, the left hand comes up when you play the F. Left hand's just a big one, that doesn't work, you gotta do that. But if you can, do the fingering in the book. So fourth, go down to the third line. You're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a little tricky going from the first measure to the second measure down that third line here, because you got to come up here. If you can't do that, then you got to do it this way, which means the 8th note in the first measure needs to be with the 4th finger. Here. Otherwise, use the fingering in the book. And hold that down as you play the... Let's go up to the top of page 28. Both hands together. Here. Try and play these legato or connected. Then you got to hold the left hand down as you go crazy in the right hand. And how crazy you go is entirely up to you. Try and play them relatively smoothly. Here. And then you do it again. 1 and 1 and 2 and 3. And then hold the left hand down as I go nuts again. Right there, when I play the A, I'm going to let the left hand up. So the last 4 8th notes are the same speed I'm playing the 8th notes in the next line, whatever that is. And you've had all this before. Let's jump over to page 29. Second line, last 2 measures. You're here. Then hold the left hand down as you do the chords. Hold it down. Now you're going to lift up here. Now if that doesn't work for you, because you're moving both hands, you can, for the left hand in the second measure, when you're holding that down, sometime during it, just put your thumb on it. Because once you have your thumb on it, then you can reach down for the other one. So that measure would be here. Then I would just put the thumb on it and you're ready. Then you don't have to move the left hand, you're there. You just... And again, the last measure, if you want. You can do that, but you can always put thumb on it again if you want. That's okay. Now let's go back and put in the articulation and talk about this rhythm a little more and these grace notes and things. At the beginning on page 27, it's all pretty much connected. Just connect everything. Pretty much the whole line is, the whole thing is connected all the way through. And the speed of your 8th notes count. So keep that in mind. I'm going 1, 2, 3, whatever the speed is of the 8th notes. When I get to the top of page 28, that's the speed of the 8th notes in the 4/4 time. You see, when you change time signatures in a piece, you need something between the time signatures to keep it steady. Some connection, something that's in common between them. In this case, it's the 8th note. So we keep that 8th note pulse steady. So if I'm doing this and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, when I go to the 4/4, it's going to go 1 and 2 and 3. And the 8th note pulse is the same. It's just the counting. It's changed what I'm numbers, huh? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... So the 8th note pulse is the same. So at the top of page 28, if I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, here it's 1, 2, 2, here, like so. Now 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. Then the little grace note. There are different ways of interpreting grace notes. People don't agree. If you have a teacher, you do it the way they're telling you to do it. A lot of grace notes, a lot of people will play them slightly before the beat. Ta-da! Some people, including me, play them on the beat. In most cases, not all. In most cases, they come on the beat. So it's when I was in college, the last professor I had who had the biggest influence on me on interpreting music, made me play all the grace notes and arpeggiatures and choccatures, whatever they were, it didn't matter. I had to play them on the beat. It's kind of gotten to the habit, so it's an interpretive thing. You try it each way, and what do you like to hear? But do you want that, this or this? There's just two ways to do it. This is a kind of a Spanish flavor. I might be tempted to play this before the beat. Type thing. And then these eighth notes, well, you can connect them pretty much, but and the second line again. And the eighth notes. The retardando there, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to blend into this 1 and 2 N. 1 and 2. Then I'm back to my 1 and 2 N. It brings you back down because you're kind of floating up in the air like, and then you come back down to the ground. And okay, we're here. On page 29, start with the second line. You're sort of here. You see the tenuto lines at the beginning? Different people interpret tenuto differently. I think in this piece what they really want you to do is give a little extra stress. I think that's unnecessary, but okay if you want to, because the natural accents fall on that. You're going to give them a little stress anyway. If you want to don't give them a full accent. Just a little extra, just feel it. And again, the grace note. See here, you can't tell if it's on the beat or before the beat, it doesn't matter. So forth. So you get an idea of the articulation, you can experiment with it. Then we can go back and talk about dynamics. Well, it's moderately loud at the beginning, and that is the right hand. Keep the left hand at a moderately soft to a soft level. At the end of the third line, you crescendo up to a loud. There's not a lot of difference between moderately loud and loud. You just go up a little bit. You got those tenutos again. And you're loud. And then you go down to soft. Down. And on page 28, this is very loud here. I mean, this, don't get vulgar, don't make it, you know, but it's really very loud. It's like, here I am, wake up. And then soft. Crescendo up to moderately loud. Then you come back down to soft, and then second line, very loud again. Soft. You're going to gradually crescendo up to loud, but don't get loud till those last 4 eighth notes. And then come down to moderately loud. And that's the left hand needs to be soft. So it's because you're loud here, and then get over to page 29. End of the first line, you're going to crescendo up to loud like you did before. Come back down, moderately loud, loud. Stay loud. There's an accent on that one, so that's like, that note is very loud. And an accent on that one. Here, very loud. So those last 2 notes, chords are loud. Like that. Like, ta-da, we're done. Victory or whatever, I don't know. Then we can talk about speed. Well, it says with motion they give you a metronome mark. Feel it in 2. Well, that's common in 6/8 time. A lot of times we feel it in 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A lot of marches are written in 6/8 time. You'd think they're triplets. 1 enda, 2 enda. No, it's 6/8 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whatever you think. 1, 2, 1. Something about like that. And then top of page 28, broadly, you slow it down. You're feeling it here. So the 8th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 suddenly slowed down. 1 and 2 and that's important. So hang on to that. So here we just slowed the count down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the cadenza. Anything goes. It's up to you. This is up to you. I tend to slow it down. It doesn't have to. And then broadly again. And then take off again. Slow down here. And get into your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 speed. Well, you'll keep that speed all the way to the end until the last 2 measures that says broadened. Just play it slower. Just broaden out. You can almost stop counting here. You feel this 2, 3. Because of the fermatas, it's hard to keep a tempo going. A lot of times in music though, even with fermatas, people will go ahead and hold the fermata out a set number of beats. It helps the listener if you can maintain some sort of a rhythm, even in a fermata. So maybe they'll hold that out as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then at the end it doesn't matter, you just hold it out for a while. Then once you got a handle on all that, they've added pedal. Well, let's see. We learn it without pedal so we can hear it. We can make sure the fingers are doing everything they're supposed to do, and then that way when we add pedal, we can hear more closely the effect the pedal has on the sound. At the beginning, out of habit, I tend to push the notes down first and then the pedal. I'm going to lift the pedal up as I play the 8th note in the right hand, so it's connected. Third line is legato pedal, so I change the pedal at each measure after I play the notes. And then here, I lift it up after I play the C sharp there in that measure. Don't pedal this, it would blur it. And then we just blend all that together. I got problems with that, but that's alright, we'll do that. Then lift it up so there's like a breath before you go to the top of page 28. Lift up. Here you can push the pedal down with the notes. I push the pedal down with the left hand really. It's legato. And don't pedal all of these 8th notes. You pedal maybe the first 4 to kind of get it going. Push it down after you play that half note and do it again. Same thing. You leave it down for the first few 8th notes and then lift it up. There's a retardando there. I'm going to slow down. Page 29, 2nd line, last measure. Change the pedal after you play the notes. Notice they do change the pedal here on each chord, because One of the things we have to watch out for when we're using pedal is how fast are we going, because when you have time to hear the notes, like at the end you're playing this so slowly, you got time to hear every chord. You don't want to hear, you don't want to mush it, so you would change it on each chord here. Change it here so we don't hear, so it's clean, and again here, so it doesn't get mushed together. I could play this 10 times and I play it different every time, and I don't want you copying me, but it sort of goes like that. I'd like to play this with you very slowly. Now the page turn, you have to work out how you're going to do that, but what you can do is you can just add a fermata on the last note on page 27 as you come up, or as you do that, then take the left hand and turn the page right quick, whatever. If you take a little long, that's fine, nobody's going to notice anything. They'll think, okay, that's all part of the music, and then you turn the page and go on. Ideally, you just memorize the piece, or at least memorize page 27, because most of page 27 is on pages 28 and 29, because you can actually read pages 28 and 29, that part of it, the section A, that they didn't label the sections, but it's ABA sections here. And so you don't even need to look at page 27. You just turn to page 28 here and you read this and you get the stuff on page 27. That works too. You have to make a little bit of adjustment at the end, but you can memorize that, hopefully. On the play with me, I'm just going to do page 27, and then we'll stop. We'll turn the page, I'll count in again, and then we'll start on page 28. And I have to keep the eighth notes even here, to stay with the metronome. So even on the cadenzas, I got to do eighth notes evenly at the same speed. I can't speed them up. So I'll give us 6 counts. And let's play it together very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, ready, go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn the page. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off.